Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Gathering on a Budget. And in this week, we're actually going to be going over one of my favorite decks of all time, or at least the concept, right? And that's milling. For me, there's nothing more satisfying than being able to beat our opponent by literally taking every card out of their deck and putting it in the discard pile. And that is what this deck aims to do. So I'm going to quickly go over all the different cards. And then we'll talk about price and all that stuff, right? So, obviously we're playing a 60-card deck. We're playing 4 copies of Merfolk Seeker-Keeper. This is from Throne of Eldraine. This is great because essentially for 1 blue mana, we can just target an opponent, force them to mill 4. Very simple, very cheap. And then on the following turn, or even on the same turn, if we still have the same mana for 1, we have a 0/4 blocker, which is good. We play 2 Merfolk Windrobbers. This card's okay. If you want to include it in the deck, you can. I put it because it's a cheap 1/1 flyer that just so happens that when you attack, it forces your opponent to mill 1. There are some games where that mill 1 could be relevant, especially for some of the later cards, because there are some effects that only happen when your opponent has like 7 or 8 cards in the discard pile. But honestly, you know, you could take him, you can leave him. He's in here mainly because he's a flying blocker, pretty much. We literally have the best blue 1 mana spell in the game, Opt. If you're playing blue and you're not playing Opt, like, I don't understand your life decisions. It's a really good spell. Scry 1, draw 1. This combos really nicely with Teferi's Tutelage. And yeah, you gotta run it at 4, no questions about it. We're playing 4 copies of Rune Crab. Has the landfall ability of every time you play a land or a land enters the battlefield on your side of the field, you're essentially forcing your opponent to mill 3 cards. Works great because we're playing cards like Fabled Passage. So when Fabled Passage hits the field, it triggers, and then when the replacement land for Fabled Passage comes into play, it re-triggers. So your opponent's milling 6 off of 1 Rune Crab. If you have 2 of them in play, they're milling 6 for every single one. It's pretty nuts. We're playing 4 Stern Dismissal and 3 Unsummons. These are essentially basically the same card. Stern Dismissal lets you target a creature or an enchantment that an opponent controls and put it back into their hand, so it's a nice little disruption. And then Unsummon essentially does the same thing, but it's only for creatures. But this does give you the opportunity to target your own creatures. So you could use Unsummon to protect your creatures, protect your Rune Crabs, rebounce Merfolk Seeker-Keeper, and then play it again as an instant or a sorcery in the same turn. So it's a pretty handy card. Excuse me. The 3 and the 4 you can play around. If you like Unsummon more, you could put 4 Unsummons and 3 Stern Dismissals, but it's worked for me pretty well. We're playing 4 Maddening Cacophony. This is one of the new cards that came up in Zendikar Rising, and it's just amazing. Essentially, for 2 mana, you're forcing an opponent to mill 8 cards. And if you pay a total of 6 mana, you're forcing them to mill half their library. This card's insane, especially if you can get it to 6. If you can pull the kicker, then I don't see a reason why you're not winning that game. We're playing Teferi's Tutelage. This is a great card. When you play it, you draw a card, and then on every single one of your upkeeps, or whenever you combo it with another card that we have here, or Merfolk Windrobber, or Opt, you're essentially forcing your opponent to mill 2 cards. It's great. Relic Golem is just a beast of a card in this particular deck. Under any other circumstances, it's an okay card. But in our deck, it's essentially a 6/6 for 3 mana that also has the added bonus of forcing your opponent to mill 2 cards for 2 mana. So it's real good. It's real good. We have Into the Story. This is one of those cards that I was talking about that you need a certain number of cards in your opponent's discard pile. It's 7 mana and you draw 4, but if your opponent has 7 cards or more, this is essentially 4 mana, draw 4 cards. But what's nice about this is that if you have Teferi's Tutelage in play, you're essentially drawing 4 and then forcing your opponent to mill 8. So this is a nice little combo piece with Teferi's Tutelage, and it's a nice way to kind of like refresh your hand right from when you're playing a whole bunch of like our cheaper costing spells, because most of the stuff that we're playing in this deck, as you can see, it's like 1, maybe 2 mana. So yeah, Into the Story, super nice, super useful, and it combos really well off of Teferi's Tutelage. We're playing Seagate Restoration. This is one card that you don't have to play. I just like it. There's not too many scenarios where you're going to be able to pull this off, but when you can pull it off, it's kind of nutty. So what this lets you do is you can either pay for a land, or you draw cards equal to the number of cards that you already have in your hand. So if you have 4 cards in your hand, you're drawing 4 cards. If you have 5 cards, you're drawing 5 more cards. And you have the added bonus that for the rest of the game, you have no maximum hand size. So this is just another Into the Story. Now, the reason why I say that there's a lot of situations where you may not play this is if you only have like 2 cards in your hand, then Seagate Restoration isn't that good, because you're only going to draw 2 cards for 7 mana. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you could play it if you want to. You don't have to. But yeah, it's a good card. Just not that good. We're playing 18 Islands. We're playing 2 Mystic Sanctuaries. This is kind of a neat card. It comes into play untapped if you control 3 other islands. And if it does come in untapped, you get to grab an instant or a sorcery from your discard pile and put it at the top of your deck. So you could grab a Maddening Cacophony, or an Unsummon, or a Teferi's Tutelage, or an Into the Story, or an Opt, and put it right back at the top of your deck. This card actually combos pretty nice with Opt, because if you have Opt in your hand, essentially whatever instant or sorcery you're putting at the top of your deck, you're going to be drawing it with Opt. And then if you have Teferi's Tutelage, you're forcing your opponent to mill 2 cards. It's great. And all of that from just a land. And then we talked about Fabled Passage already. It's a good card, especially with Rune Crab. The only reason we're playing this is because of Rune Crab, because it's a mono blue deck. So the total cost of this deck comes out to about $36. However, Seagate Restoration is $10 a piece. So if you were to take these 2 copies of Restoration out of the deck, then it comes to roughly around $16 to $17 for the entire deck, which is pretty good, especially considering that a Planeswalker deck starts off at around $12.99, $13. So yeah, so for the same price, you're getting a really good starting mill deck. And one of the nice things about mill is that mill is so flexible, so you don't necessarily have to play this exact list, right? You could change it, customize it as you want. It's a pretty open list, but this is just the version that I'm playing. So yeah, let's hop into some games and let's see how it turns out. Let's see how these games go. We'll say one of the nice things about mill is that we're not really worried about our opponent's HP, so this deck is this deck is pretty good against life gain and clerics and all that stuff. I'm gonna keep it. I normally wouldn't keep this because a majority of our hand is land, but I'm kind of hoping that we draw into something good. We'll see. Now I'm choosing not to play the crab here because I don't know what my opponent's playing, and the last thing that I want is for them to, you know, do something to kill the crab. So I much prefer to hold on to the crab and then play it on turn 2. And it looks like our opponent is playing a mutate deck that features a Scute Swarm, so I'm glad that we milled that. Yep. So what we're going to do is we're going to play Teferi's Tutelage. Draw a card. I'm actually going to be discarding the Opt, because the Opt, we can actually get it back into our hand with Mystical Sanctuary. And I want to hold on to the Unsummon, knowing that my opponent is going to be focusing on mutating. I want to see if I can get them to mutate into a big monster, and then we bounce that back into their hand, and it'll be a nice way to buy some time. And with that, this Rune Crab's already put in some work, because we already have 8 cards in their graveyard, so our Into the Story is already active. and you can see that instead of being 7 mana, it's only 4. So let's see what happens. And it looks like our opponent is playing Simic. There we go. So it's already started. Here comes the mutate. So if it's just this, I'm gonna take it. So I'll take the 2. Go ahead, resolve all. Nice. That's one of his key cards. That Migratory. So I'm actually really happy that we milled that. So let's go ahead and play this. It's going to come in on top because we have 3 islands. And Opt is going to go to the top of our deck. Yes. And now we're going to play Into the Story. We're going to draw 4 cards, including the Opt that we just put to the top of the deck. And we're going to force him to mill 8. And he scoops. Oh, that's not really a cool game 1. But hey, we take those. We take those. Hey everybody. I just wanted to take a moment just to say thank you so much for clicking on the video. And I also just wanted to say that if you love the content that you're seeing here, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. But most importantly, come check us out when we're live streaming on twitch.com/Cafecito Gaming. We stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we have some surprise streams throughout the middle of the week too. But we're playing all the popular games like Among Us, Phasmophobia, we're playing Genshin Impact, Minecraft, and so much more. So if you like the content, come hang out with us live. We'd love to see you there. Okay, so the first guy rage quit. Let's see what happens next. That dude was platinum too. So now we're going up against a mythic player who has an 87% win rate. So we may end up losing this one, boys. But it is what it is. Let's go ahead and force him to mill 4. And it looks like he's playing Life Gain. So, like I mentioned earlier, we don't care for Life Gain. We're gonna play this for the land. It's gonna come in top. I don't know if we're gonna be able to win this, just because this dude has a high win chance. And he's mythic. We're just gold. But we'll do our best. We'll go ahead and discard the Stern Dismissal because we're gonna get it back with the Mystic Sanctuary. Yeah. So essentially, whenever he heals, he's gonna be making a 3/3 or a 2/2 Griffin. So here's the first one. And so now the timer's kind of started. So we are on the clock. So let's go ahead and drop this. And let's go ahead and do this first. Put that at the bottom. Perfect. I'm actually just gonna summon this. And then unsummon this. Because I have another unsummon. Perfect. That bought me a turn, believe it or not. So target him and mill 4 more. And we'll go ahead and summon it. So even if he attacks, yeah, he'll kill one of them, but you know. I'm gonna hold off on the Maddening Cacophony. He's at 22, so we got him to half already. So at the end of his turn, he's gonna make another Griffin. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna unsummon this. Yep. Okay. Okay, so I think here we're gonna drop a second Rune Crab, and I'm gonna actually activate the Maddening Cacophony. He's gonna mill 8. He's down to 11. So when he goes, he's gonna be hitting us. We're only gonna take 2, because I can block those ghouls, and I can block them with my Merfolk Keepers, and I'm not gonna take any damage. He's gonna hit me for 2 though. He's at 10. When we go, he's gonna go down to 8. We're in a good spot, but I know life gain, and life gain has the ability to just turn the game out of nowhere. So, you know, holding my breath. If I can somehow draw a second Maddening Cacophony, we win. Opt is good too. Opt is good. Let's go like this. We can't play it this turn, but if he can't kill us by the next turn, then we win. Because he's at 6. So when we draw it, we'll force him to mill 8. No, I'm not attacking. Technically, if we also drew a land, we would have won too. Yep. Nope. You can heal. Okay, so block. Does that trample? Yes, it does. So we're gonna do all 3 there. We'll do 4, so we'll take 1 from that. We'll block that. We'll block this. Block. So I'm gonna take the 9. But that's okay. You know what? I can just drop the land, force him to mill 3. And now we just end our turn. And boys, just like that, we just beat a mythic player with an 87% chance of winning. With a $15 mill deck. Yeah, buddy. Feels good, guys. Feels good. Pats on the back. Okay. And here is the 3rd and final match. Honestly, so far, we've got a pretty good track record. We made the first guy rage quit. We just beat some mythic dude. And now we got this platinum dude. Burger. Okay, this is a pretty decent start. We got the Fabled Passage and the Rune Crab. So I think what we'll do on turn 1 is we'll drop an island and we'll make a mill for 4. We'll kind of get an idea of what deck they're playing once we get to see a little bit of their graveyard. Then turn 2 we drop the Rune Crab with an island. No, turn 2 we drop the Rune Crab with the Fabled Passage. So boom. Mill 4. And it looks like another Mutate deck. Okay. And a second Rune Crab. Alright. Okay. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's summon the second one. If we manage to keep both in play without him doing something to it, then we're gonna make him mill 12 cards. That was too good to be true. But that's also the reason why I like to wait a turn before playing the Rune Crab, because if you do that on turn 1, then there's a high chance that they could do that turn 1. So let's go ahead and drop this. And we're literally making him mill all of his Clash lands. Let's go ahead and draw a card. I'm actually going to discard the Relic. Nice. We got rid of 2 key cards. The Gem Razor and the Migratory Greyhorn. See, this is a key card in their deck. Because if they manage to get a Scute Squirm out in play and mutate this onto that, then it gets real bad for us, because it'll get to a point where he can just start making copies of this Great Horn and just start swinging in for big damage. So let's drop this. We're gonna mill 3 because I said so, and then we're gonna activate this for another island, and you're gonna mill 3 more. Is that 31? Let's go ahead and into the story. Beautiful. Into 8. Which we actually drew a second into the story, so the following turn we're gonna get to mill him for 10. And the reason I say 10 is because we're gonna mill him for 8 off of the into the story, and we'll mill him for 2 off of this. However, this is gonna start hitting hard. Well, it's already hitting hard, right? But it's gonna hit harder. So I think what I'm gonna do on my next turn is I'm gonna Stern Dismissal this back into his hand, and then force him to play that all over again, and then into the story for myself. So he's gonna mill 2. We're gonna drop this. We're going to Stern Dismissal this. So you're gonna have to replay all of that. And we're gonna go ahead and into the story. We're gonna draw fresh new cards, and now you're gonna mill 8, sir. Oh, the second scoop! The second scoop! Love it. Oh man, they can't handle it, baby. They can't handle it. Okay, let me see if I can squeeze in one more game, because 2 scoops were pretty fast. So I just want to see if I can get you guys a little more content, because yeah, like, though it's funny to see them scoop, kind of want to see the game to the end. This is a great opening hand, minus the Seagate Restoration. I like to see this late game, but we can do some cute stuff. Wow, can you tell this dude loves Ugin? Just absolutely loves Ugin. The sleeves. Now what is he playing? Ooh, he's playing Auras. Nice. This is a dangerous deck too. With a little bit of lifelink. Since we're not going to cast anything on the second turn, I think I'm just going to drop this. That'll keep this at bay from attacking us at least for 1 or 2 turns. Wow, he's got the fancy lands. He's also playing Bant. I'll block to not take damage. He's going to heal 1. Okay. So we're going to summon now a second Rune Crab. Drop this. No 6. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and cast this, just because I don't want to be using the crabs to block. So at least I feel a little better having this. And even if he pumps Setessan's Champion, it'll be enough to at least survive. This will survive longer than the crab will. Flying, and then Aura spells cost 1 less. And let the troublesome begin, because this is going to get real bad. I don't care about your health. Let's do this first. Sure, let's take it. Let's play it. Can you cancel it? Mill 9. Mill 8. This is awesome, because essentially now on the next turn, when we drop this land, we're going to force him to mill 9 more. And then when we drop Teferi's Tutelage, he's going to mill 2 more. So he's essentially at 17 cards in his deck, and he's about to lose 11 of them. If I can draw a Fabled Passage, or anything that makes me mill him for a lot, then he's done for. So like even these, I'm gonna take 1 for sure from this. Yeah, this just gets +2/+2, but doesn't have trample. Okay, so I'm just gonna block this. The thing's gonna die, but it's okay. Take 1. Well, it really wants me to play lands, so I guess we'll do that. So 13, we'll drop this, mill 9. Okay. And so even if he kills 2 of my crabs, we win. The moment that I draw a card, he's gonna mill 2 cards, so he's only down 1. He only has 1 card left in his deck, so he has to end the game now. If he doesn't end the game in this round, we win. The moment that I start my turn and draw my card, it's game. So he either needs to get rid of Teferi's Tutelage, he needs to hit me for 19, or he needs to get rid of the 3 crabs and Teferi's Tutelage to prevent me from milling him. Which I don't think he's going to be able to do. So I'm going to block 1. I'm going to block 2. I'm going to take the 1. Can you do anything? Well, it's game. Great game, sir. Great game. I feel pretty good about this one. We literally went up against 2 platinum players, a mythic player, and a silver player. 2 of them scooped. And we beat a platinum and a mythic player with a $15 mill deck. So, feels good. Feels good. Hey guys, thank you so much for sticking it through all the way to the end of the video. If you guys like the deck, please leave a comment down below and let me know. If you guys decided to build the deck on your own and put it into MTG Arena, please also drop a comment down below and let me know how well you guys are doing with your deck. If you guys are enjoying the Gathering on a Budget series here on our channel, I'd recommend subscribing for more Magic the Gathering content. And with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!